plants. Let's start by looking at our lesson objectives. Okay, by the end of the lesson, you'll be able to, 1, mention the 5 types of plants. Mention the 5 types of plants. And then 2, give 2 things about the 5 types of plants. Give 2 things about the 5 types of plants. So, Kate, by the end of this lesson, you'll be able to 5 types of plants. Good. Now let's start the lesson. Kate, if you look around, we see lots of plants around us. We see lots of plants around us. Some are big, as you see this tree, very big, and then some are also small. If you look around, you see that we have some trees that are big, some are also small. We also see trees that are tall. Some are tall, and then some are also short. So if you look around you, you can see big trees, short trees, tall trees, and then small trees. Now let's look at the parts of a plant. The parts of a plant. If we see plants around us all the time, let's look at the parts of the plant. Okay, you see chili pepper plants on your screen. Very beautiful chili pepper plant. Now let's look at the parts. The first one is the roots. As you see, you have the roots. Then we have the stem. Leaves. The third one is the leaves, as you see at the top here. And then we also have the flowers. You see this plant is on this plant. And then the last one, roots. So parts of a plant, I have the roots, fruits, leaves, and then we have flowers. Okay, so let's quickly go through the function of these parts. If we are going to talk about the parts of a plant, let's quickly go through the function of these parts that we have identified. The first one, leaves. You see green, you see are the leaves, and the leaves grow on the stem or branches. So you see that all the leaves you see here are connected to the branches. So the leaves grow on the stem or branches. And then what is the main function of leaves attached to plants? Kate, they absorb sunlight and then make food for the plant. So the leaves absorb sunlight, make food for the plants. The next is the flower. That's the white one on the plant, the flower. The flower also produces fruits. The flower also produces fruits. We also have the stem. And from roots up, you have the stem. And the stem connects the leaves to the roots. The stem connects the leaves to the roots. Okay, the stem also takes water and minerals from the roots to the leaves. See where the arrow is pointing. The stem also take water, minerals from the roots to the leaves. And then we also have the roots, and the roots hold the plant firmly in the soil. It is the root that holds the plant firmly into the soil. The root also absorbs nutrients from the soil for the plant. So the roots you see here absorbs nutrients from the soil for the plants. Now, Kate, you know something about plants. Some are big, some are small, some are short, some are tall. Whether they are big or small, tall or short, they all have roots. They all have stem. They all have leaves. They have flowers and then fruits. So Kate, now that we have gone through what a plant is and parts. Let's go to the types of plants. There are 5 types of plants. Kids, there are 5 types of plants. I said how many? 5. Good. There are 5 types of plants. And these 5 types of plants are: 1, we have trees. The first one is trees. 2, we have shrubs. Shrubs. 3, we have herbs. The third one is herbs. 4, we have climbers. Climbers. And then the last one, we have creepers. Creepers. So kids, there are 5 types of plants. There are 5 types of plants. And these are trees, shrubs, herbs, climbers, and creepers. So kids, right now that we have identified the 5 types of plants, let's take them one by one and then look at them. The first one, trees. Trees. And kids, trees are big plants with many leaves, as you see on the screen. Trees are big plants. They are the biggest of all the 5 that you were shown. So trees are the biggest with many leaves. So you see a big tree on the screen with many leaves. Kids, trees are also very strong with big and firm roots. When we're talking about the parts of a plant, he said every tree has a root. So this tree, if you can see on the screen, you see that the tree is very big with big and then firm roots. And we said that the function of the tree is to hold, or the function of the roots is to hold the plant firmly into the soil. So trees are very strong with big and firm roots. Kids, they also have many branches with leaves. So you see that from the root we have the stem upwards, and where the arrow is showing is the branches. So you see that this tree has many branches with leaves on them. So they have many branches with leaves. Kids, they also have hard and woody stem called trunk. Hard and woody stem called trunk. So kids, this is what we call trunk. The stem of big plants are called trunk. The stem of big plants are called trunk. So hard called trunk. And kids, if you have seen, people cut this trunk and then we use them for many things. We can get firewood from the trunk. We can get wood that can be used for tables, chairs, beds, and other things. So they have hard and woody stem called trunk. Kids, trees also live for many years. Trees also live for many years. They live for many years. So if you look at the tree on your screen, it has leaves, trunk, branches, and then roots. As we discussed when we were talking about the parts, and we are saying trees live for many years. They can stay long. Now let's look at some examples of plants that are grouped under trees. Okay, we have an orange tree. We have orange tree. And I believe some of you have seen orange tree before. We get oranges, and when we take these oranges, we get a lot of vitamins from it. Then we also have mango tree. Mango tree. And then the last one, we have coconut tree. Okay, I've seen all these trees before and around you, and we are saying that they live for many years. So you can see that you may have a mango or orange or coconut tree at home, and they can be there for many years. So Kate, the first type of plant is called tree, and we have gone through them, and these are some of the examples. Now let's move to the next type, that is shrub than trees. They are the next bigger plants. So shrubs are smaller than trees. Shrubs are bushy plants. Shrubs are bushy plants. You see the plants on your screen. You can't even identify the stem. All the leaves have covered the plants, and that is what we call bushy. You see, so shrubs are bushy plants. Okay, they have small branches that grow close to the ground. So they have small branches that grow. So if you look at this shrub here, you can see small branches connecting to the leaves and the flowers that you see. So shrubs have small branches that grow close to the ground. Another point about shrubs is that they have many stems. So you look at the shrub that you see on the screen, this plant, you can see that this plant has a lot of stems. You can even count them from the ground to the leaves. You can see that you have many stems. When we were talking about the trees, you could see only one stem. But when you talk about shrubs, they have many stems with branches that connect the leaves as well as the flowers. Okay, so let's look at some examples of shrubs. The first one is turkey berry plants, and I believe you have seen this plant before. It's all around us, and this is the fruit. You can see the fruit there. Some use it to prepare abom. When they are doing some palava sauce with some ampesi, they use it because it contains nutrients called iron, and it's common around us. Some call it ama juju. Some also call it samantroba. It has many names according to the tribe, and we call it turkey berry plant. So that plant is an example of a shrub. It also have hibiscus plants, and the flower is what we normally use for a drink called sobolo. So if you know sobolo, we get it flowers of this plant. And then the next one is the rose plant. So Kate, these are examples of shrubs. We have plants, and then we have rose plants. Let's move to the next one. And the third one is herbs. The third type of plant is called herbs. What are herbs? Kate, they are very small plants. They are smaller than shrubs. They are smaller than shrubs. We said that trees are the biggest. The next bigger one is the shrub. And then the third biggest is the herbs. So herbs are very small plants, and they are smaller than shrubs. So you can see the plant, the shrub. You see that this is smaller if you compare it to the shrubs. Okay, another thing about the herb is that the stem is green and very soft. The stem is green and very soft. The stem, long parts that connect the roots to the leaves. That is what we call the stem, as we discussed. And you see that the whole stem is green. The next picture there, that is the plant. uh, the chili pepper plant, you see the stem is also green. So the stem of herbs is green and very soft. You can even break it easily. It's green and very soft. 2, they usually live for few months. They usually live for few months. We said that trees can live for many years, but when you talk about herbs, they live for few months. Let's look at some examples. The first one is tomato plant. The second one is a chili pepper plant, and then we also have sunflower plant. So, okay, the examples of herbs are tomato plants, pepper plants, and then sunflower plant. So I believe if you see one, you'll be able to identify it because their stem is green and very soft. Now let's look at the fourth type of plant, that is climbers. Fourth type of plant, that is climbers. Let's look at what climbers are. Okay, climbers are plants with thin and weak stem. Climbers are plants with thin and weak stem. So if you look at this plant here, pointing, that is the stem of this plant. And weak. So because they are tiny and weak, they cannot stand upright without support. So if you look at the picture, you can see a bamboo, and this climber is climbing the bamboo to have support. So we are saying they cannot stand straight. Just look at the stem, very tiny. It cannot stand straight. So you have to support it with something. So kids, they need support like wall, fence, or other plants to grow straight. So kids, climbers cannot stand on their own. They need support. Climbers cannot stand on their own. They need support like wall, fence, or other plants for them to grow straight. Okay, so let's look at some examples. The first one is the bean plant. Bean plant. Bean plant falls under climbers. Bean plant falls under climbers. 2, yam. Yam. If you visit any yam farm, you see that they will support the plant with sticks before the plant can grow and then also produce the yam. So yam is also a climber. And then the last one is cucumber plants. Cucumber plants. So bean plants, yam plants, and then cucumber plants, they are all classified under climbers, or they are grouped under climbers because they have thin and weak stem, and you have to support them with a plant for them to grow. They climb another plant to grow. They climb for them to stand straight and then grow. So these are examples of climbers. Now, okay, it's the last one are called creepers. The last type of plant is called creepers. And you see one on your screen. The last one is called creepers. Okay, so let's look at what creepers are. They are plants that grow along the ground by extending their branches. They grow along the ground by extending their branches. Why? Because they have thin, long, and weak stem. They have thin, long, and weak stem. The stem cannot stand straight. Even if you support it with a stick, it cannot climb straight. It will creep on the ground. And there's a reason this plant creep on the ground. We are saying they have thin, long, and weak stem. The stem cannot stand straight. you will say that we can support it with a stick so that it can climb as we saw with the climbers. No, this type of plant creeps on the ground. Why? They creep on the ground because it has big and heavy fruits. Big and heavy fruits. The plant spread on the ground because it has big and heavy fruits. So if the fruits are heavy and the stem is weak, it means that if it stands upright, all the fruits will come down. So this type of plant creeps on the ground. So you look at the fruits there, you can see that it is very heavy. Kate, what type of fruits do we have on the screen here? Yes, watermelon. So you see that watermelon is very heavy. So if this type of plant has very weak stem and thin stem as well, and then it's hung on it, you see that all the plants will come down. That is why this plant creeps on the ground. Let's look at some examples. Okay, we have sweet potato plants. So sweet potato plants are examples of creepers. We also have watermelon, as we saw. So examples of creepers are sweet potato plants and watermelon plants. They creep on the ground because they have weak and thin stem, as well as their fruit is also big. They have big fruits, and the fruit cannot hang on the plant because of the weakness of the stem. So Kate, these are the types of plants that we have. We said we have 5 types of plants: trees, shrubs, herbs, climbers, and then creepers. So as we discussed, there are 5. And the first one we looked at is the tree. The second was shrubs, and we said trees are the biggest and shrubs are the next biggest. If you look at the shrub, it has many stems, as we talked about. The third one is the herbs. And one thing that you can use to identify this type of plant is their green stem. Their green stem. And then we also looked at climbers. We said they cannot stand straight unless you give them support like they would, or they will find their own support through the fence or on a wall because their stem is weak and cannot stand upright. The last one we looked at is the creepers. They creep on the ground. They grow along the ground because they have thin and then weak stem. One thing about creepers too is that they have heavy fruit, and that also will not make it possible for them to stand upright because they have heavy fruit. The fruits will start falling when it develops. So Kate, these are the 5 types of plants: trees, shrubs, herbs, climbers, and then creepers. Now, we have gradually come to the end of the lesson on types of plants. Okay, so let's take this homework home. 1. Mention 3 types of plants. Mention 3 types of plants. We have talked about 5, so you mention 3 types. And then 2, you state 2 things about the following types of plants. State 2 things. So when you take shrubs, you say 2 things about shrubs, and then climbers, you state 2 things about climbers. 1, 3 types of plants, and 2, you state 2 shrubs and then climbers. Kids, we have gradually come to the end of the lesson, and I believe today you've been able to learn the different types of plants that we see around. Make sure you do your homework, and until we meet again next time, this is your teacher, Ernest Acho Benton. Bye-bye.